I'd like to invite Max Steinman up on stage. Max is the CEO of RentSync and Rentals.ca in Canada, the largest player in the rentals market. And we're going to talk about how you can leverage leadership in rental syndication to unlock interesting value through the vertical integration. So come on, let's grab a seat. I feel like I'm a psychologist or an analyst, so welcome. So Max, thank you for getting off a plane yesterday and going to the football and then joining us today.
Priorities.
I know, priorities. But thank you very much. I'd love to know a bit about your background and how you got involved with RentSync and the team there.
Yeah.
And then what does RentSync actually do? And then we're going to go into the Rentals.ca business.
Sounds great. Thanks for having all us Canadians up here this morning. And I really appreciate Simon Bray, who sort of did the explaining of Canada already, so I don't have to do too much of that. My background, I've been with RentSync now for 8 years, pretty much from the time we were a 5-person company. I was the first employee that was hired to do sales. I'm actually not a founder of the business, but right through our high growth period, we've got about 100 employees now. And it's been a really wonderful 8-year journey for me. The company is only about 10 years old. Prior to joining RentSync, I worked with a web development firm doing sales, and also had some time working in a major Canadian REIT, and have background and history in the mortgage industry as well. So it was a way for me to sort of tie together my technology and marketing background with my real estate experience when I joined RentSync.
So let's start on what RentSync does and why does it exist?
Yeah, for sure. So RentSync is the largest provider of marketing and advertising services to the rental housing industry in Canada. We do that through sort of 3 different business categories. The first one is our namesake, the RentSync platform, which is a software platform designed for primarily multifamily asset owners and property management companies to manage their marketing content in one place, one platform, and it allows them to publish that content out to the listing sites, major listing sites in Canada via a syndication engine. It also allows them to manage their own website and create websites, themed websites within the platform. And it also helps them sort of measure what's working, their websites, their ad campaigns, and their listing site spend. The second line of business is sort of the service side of business, where we do actually do everything from building brands for purpose-built rental projects through to building websites and helping set up themed websites. We also do social media advertising campaigns and Google ad campaigns on behalf of clients to drive more traffic to their websites. And then the third category, which is newer to RentSync, and probably what we'll focus on mainly today and why I'm here, is that we entered the property portal space 2 years ago via acquisition. We went and bought 6 of the leading rental brands in Canada in about a 6-month stretch. So our leading brand is Rentals.ca, but we also bought Rent Faster, Louer.ca, which is a Quebec-based brand, and we bought Rent Board, Toronto Rentals, and Rent Canada. And so now we're in the portal space as well, and we're definitely in the leading position for sort of pure play rental housing listing sites with about 4.5 million in traffic a month to those brands.
Okay, so let's take a little step back. You've got this great, basically CRM platform, or part of a CRM platform, that is syndication software. Did the leads come back through you?
Yeah, the leads do come in to the platform, and it's interesting, from your previous conversations today, what do we do after the lead comes through? Do we do enough? Probably not today. The leads come in, and our clients are able to measure the effectiveness of the ads and their ROI on their advertising spend. That's pretty much it for today within the platform. We do go a little bit down the leasing spectrum into booking a tour and a little bit of lead qualification, but we're not quite there yet.
All right, so lead syndication, some marketing tools to help various players in the industry, and you're really creating an MLS for the rentals market, or at least a database of the rentals in the market.
Yeah, it's an interesting way to put it. It's something that's very different about the Canadian market and U.S. market in the rental space is that the minority of transactions are done via a rental agent or a real estate agent. The ones that are done are actually mainly in Vancouver and Toronto, major urban centers, and for or on behalf of sort of the mom and pop market with luxury condo rentals. But the majority are just done through purpose-built rental owners having their own leasing team, or the mom and pop just listing on a rentals.ca as an example and doing their own lease.
Okay, so then let's talk about rental CA. So you decide to start to vertically integrate. You started to buy some of your customers.
Our partners, I would say, but
partners. Yeah. Okay, and 6 acquisitions in 6 months is a pretty aggressive timeline. How did you go around doing all that simultaneously? Because I assume some of these are competitors to each other. How do you keep getting everything quiet? How do you negotiate? How did you ensure that it didn't blow up in your face in that process?
Yeah, that was incredibly important and strategic to the entire idea, which the entire idea is essentially to have rolled up all the listing sites that were highly fragmented and regionalized, as Simon kind of spoke about. Canada is huge geographically, and I think that hugeness has sort of created an environment where regionally there were some sort of de facto leaders in the ILS space, but there never was sort of this national brand. And Rentals.ca started to emerge as that national brand, and so our entire idea and the way we looked at it as an opportunity was to basically defragment and pick the right regional brands to back a Rentals.ca network. And so, one, we hired an excellent M&A team because we had to do it so quickly. 2, we brought all of those brands in on the idea. And so they knew that what the overall plan was. There was a lot of equity rollover in those deals, so it wasn't necessarily just sort of straight cash paid for all of these different companies, but more of a partnership and coming together of the minds. And I think by doing it and outlaying the plans so well ahead of time to each of those partners, we were able to fairly smoothly get through it. Of course, it's always difficult.
So no one got greedy in the process, said, wait a second, I'm a very important part of this overall plan. I might actually want to have a bigger share of it?
Well, prices changed for sure as we went, but no one got too greedy. The 6 sites that we set out to go and acquire, there were lots of choices, but the 6 sites that we set out to acquire, we did acquire. So it was our top 6 choices, and we were able to accomplish that.
So then how do you think about integration and value extraction? Because you buy these 6 marketplaces, do you just leave them as is, or do you start to think about, are there ways to get some synergistic values across them? And the next question of that will be then, what do you then start to do to change just purely, you now own the distribution, where the listings are being distributed, what comes next? So let's start with the first thing, how do you extract value across them?
Yeah, so we've been really successful in extracting some synergistic value on the operations side, on the sales side, in terms of client crossover and cross-selling, and now for us, we have to sort of change our focus from those synergies to the technology and product synergies. And that's definitely, probably the bigger challenge in the sense that, Canada, like Most markets in the world right now has a major labor shortage, particularly software developers. So to advance your product at the rate that you want to advance your product is really difficult. But we believe that if we can sort of create one tech stack, one backend, one sort of continuous experience, it will be a better product for renters. It will also be a better product for the small mom and pop landlord and for sort of the multifamily asset owners as well. So that's where it's going, to a one listing network, where you've got the rentals.ca brand being the leading player across the country, and then these sort of regionally backed partner sites that you're also being listed on. And from a product standpoint, it's actually not that easy, but we're getting there. We're getting there.
How do you think from a sales standpoint? Because the way you were describing it before is, if I was the Toronto rental site, I'm either getting listings from RentSync, or I'm having people list directly on it. Are you going to try to take those who listed directly and put them into a centralized RentSync sales team, which therefore, and you just basically tick the sites you want to be on?
Yeah, so basically the RentSync sales team handles multifamily pretty much exclusively. So large REITs, we wouldn't even touch, for us, sort of the ROI on having a human salesperson is probably around 500 units in a client's portfolio before, we really want to have them be account managed. So yeah, the RentSync sales team now handles all clients in Canada with 500 units or more, which is probably about 1,000 companies. There's companies all the way up to 60,000 units. CapREIT is the largest, I believe, in Canada that does their own property management. On the mom and pop side and the mom and pop listings, we have an e-commerce model, so and a freemium model. Most of our listing sites support free listings. For us, it's important to have the most diverse selection of listings for the renter. If we don't have that, we're not going to be able to sustain our traffic and our rank in Google and all those good things. And we even import free listings from the MLS system as well. So we're not trying to necessarily compete on every mom and pop listing out there, but we do offer, similar to REW, those sort of preferential packages if you want to have your listing stand out.
Will you, and how will you integrate just sort of your consumer marketing team? Because you've got, each one of these portals would have had their own little team driving traffic, building brand in either their own market or, within case of rentals.ca, across Canada. It would surely make sense to aggregate or put all that together, so you've got one team who's buying AdWords and one team who's just thinking about how you do this.
Yeah, exactly. So those operations have now been brought together. And everybody works under sort of the rentals.ca division of RentSync now. It took probably almost a year and a half to get to that point, just because these businesses were operating so segmented from each other. But yeah, we've structurally set it up that way now. So everything from marketing to sales to the function of finance within the company is centralized.
Okay, so now let's think about the future. The questions come up: are you looking at going internationally, or first of all, are you thinking about acquiring more portals across Canada?
Well, like any business that's sort of high growth, we're constantly looking at opportunities, M&A and partnerships, and if the right opportunities arise, it might make sense for us for sure. There are different verticals that we've looked at as well, like seniors living, or for sale market. We don't touch the for sale market right now, so those opportunities may be there for sure, especially now with certain property portals drying up in terms of capital, and who could benefit from a well-backed company with resources. But I think we're more interested in maybe going down funnel into the leasing world. Like right now, most of our clients and customers think of us as the lead gen kings of Canada, or queens of Canada. And we don't do that much beyond the lead still. So there's a lot of opportunity.
So what's the next step? Is it, as we were talking with Martin just before, is it about a lead comes in, instead of it just sort of going straight through, right? And you sort of look at it as it goes past and you can sort of see that you don't really do anything to it. You thought about stopping the lead, doing some sort of value add to it before then passing it on?
Not ourselves, though, through a partnership with, like an AI chatbot, that's possible, so that we're passing off, a more qualified lead. And actually, we do that through a couple partnerships right now. We also have things like auto repliers and whatnot that help kind of segment those leads. But naturally, like the way we look at the leasing funnel is to go sort of to the next step, which is book a tour. So mainly these are tools and modules that we want to build to be enabling our clients' leasing teams, not necessarily taking on the functions of those leasing teams. Because again, in this sort of multifamily, purpose-built world, these leasing teams are highly entrenched in the industry. So book a tour, apply, sign a lease, pay a security deposit. That's the simple version of the funnel. And there are tools that do exist and can exist along it that we either partially have right now or are in development on. So.
I would have thought one of the, and we saw it yesterday, and I don't remember who it was, I think maybe it was Rightmove was doing like a renter's passport. So where you build your presence as a renter online, you can get verified, your rental history, so you like, it becomes easy for someone to say yes. Yeah. How do you think about those sort of opportunities?
Yeah, actually, one of the listing sites that we purchased, Rent Faster, which is sort of the predominant player in the Alberta market, Calgary, Edmonton, they have that feature and functionality. So we're also taking the best of all worlds from each of our acquisitions and trying to create that global platform. But yeah, you as a renter can create a profile. By creating that profile, when you submit a lead, you can submit the profile along with it, which can give you an advantage, especially in a Canadian market where supply is so incredibly tight, and there can even be bidding wars on a rental property. So yeah, we do have a little bit of that, but I think for sure there's opportunity to almost move to like Airbnb's sort of instant approval type rental situation. We're not quite there yet, but
it seems to me these are all stepping stones, right? As you go deeper and deeper into the transaction or elements of the transaction. Because if you think of it, it's I have a listing, I need to generate interest around the listing. I've got to qualify those people who come in. I've then got to get contracts, etc., completed, and I then collect first month's rent or whatever it is, the fee for putting a person in an apartment, and then you've got rental management after that. So you're building the elements of it, right? And then you're passing. I assume where you'll end up going is you'll get more and more qualified leads being sent to the rental, the REITs and whoever it is, right? The people who actually have the listings. Have you thought about then getting into rental management, or is that a headache?
No, yeah, that's a headache. No, I mean, that would put us in direct competition with our client. There have been we've observed a couple US tech-enabled portals who went down that path unsuccessfully. The most important asset to us as a portal is having the most listings. And so anything we could do to potentially jeopardize that rental experience or the renter experience is too counter to our business and too risky. And yeah, we're really trying to provide that altruistic renter experience at the end of the day.
What about financial solutions? Because one of the things you can do to help in the process is rental guarantee type products or deposit bond type products and so on. How do you think about that segment?
Yeah, definitely an interesting segment to us. I think logically for us, we need to complete the leasing funnel first. If we do things out of order, the product market fit, and we've learned this lesson a few times, the product market fit is usually not there, and the cost of acquiring a client is way too high. So, for us, getting to the end of the leasing funnel is definitely not the end, but as soon as that first transaction, which is generally the security deposit, is part of our funnel, then I think going into sort of the more of a fintech solution, looking at rental guarantees, and there's some other really interesting products as well. Though the landscape is changing in that space a lot because of increased interest rates, but it's of great interest to us.
That's an interesting question. Because interest rates in Canada went up yesterday, I think.
Yes, not as much as expected, 50 basis points.
50, okay. No, wow. And I think it's gone up from I was talking to Simon Ray about it yesterday. I think it went up from 0.25 to 4 point something now, isn't it? Or some enormous growth.
Yeah, huge growth.
Since March. Yeah,
and well, we were in a super low interest rate environment for 15 years or so. Yeah. It's definitely having an interesting impact on the rental market in general. At first, we just observed that no one was moving. No one's selling their homes. No one's leaving the rental properties. A lot of areas in Canada are rent controlled. So with inflation, people are just hunkering down, taking advantage of the rent-controlled units, and hoping to not have to get into the market at market price. So interest rates raising the way they haven't impacted the rental market just yet, but we're starting to see a flip where demand is really falling off, and potentially a leading indicator of a recession, which could be a good thing, could be a bad thing for the rental industry. It's like I think Andrew said yesterday, it's like throwing a dart at a dartboard. No idea, exactly what will happen though.
Okay, and then one of the last questions is: are you looking at international expansion, mergers, acquisitions, and so on?
For sure. One of the reasons we also wanted to come here. For us, we've built this very interesting moat of these three core departments, and we sort of see that as our advantage in the market. If we can apply that in other markets, we fundamentally sort of see that as a really strong growth opportunity for ourselves. So definitely. The one challenge I will say, because we've looked at it before, we've looked at, okay, how do we get into the market in the UK? Naturally, we looked at English-speaking countries first, though I don't think that's too important to us. But the fundamental difference of the fact that the majority of transactions are facilitated through agents, and that the sort of purpose-built rental market is not nearly as large in Europe or even around the entire globe, is the challenge to us. So connecting the dots and applying our model to the differences in these markets is the challenge, but I think it's possible. We just need the right partner to help us get there.
Okay. What do you think the biggest challenge will be? Will it be the fragmentation of the industry, so a lot of mums and pop landlords, which I think is part of the issue? Would it be perhaps a lack of fragmentation of the rental sites? Because a lot of the major portals are also rental sites. I mean, Rightmove has a rental section, Scout24 has a rental section, so you have this side by side, and they are known for both. I mean, that could be a challenge, right, in getting these markets.
Yeah, I think it's the former, which is just how fragmented the market is. When we looked at the UK, we said, how do we apply our business model here? And I think there's, at the time, I went to the UKAA Apartment Association conference in 2020, and there was like 20,000 apartment units that they call sort of built to let or built to rent in the entire country. That's like a mid-sized client for us in Canada. And in the US, that's like a small, or medium to small player, one client. So I can see how that's emerging here. There's a lot of Canadian REITs who have started to develop in Ireland and the UK. And so it may be that we're just a little bit early with our model, or that we haven't found the right market yet. But we've been looking. And it may be that once we build out sort of the back end of our sort of mom and pop listing service, all on sort of one continuous tech stack, that we can then much easily apply that to the more fragmented markets in Europe. So,
Excellent, Max. Thank you very much.
yeah.
Thank you for sharing, the experiences and the challenges of expansion from a software platform into the portal world, acquiring 6 in 6 months, which is a little crazy, but well done. And then, all the challenges of integration, and then sharing the growth opportunity. So thank you very much. Very fascinating business.
Thanks for having us. Yeah, appreciate it.
Thank you.